Hey, what's going on, guys? Before we get into the video, I just want to give a quick introduction. The clips you're about to watch I recorded back in early January 2021, and right now, of course, I'm recording this intro in January 2023. And so back 2 years ago, I really didn't know too much about what I was doing, so sometimes I say something that doesn't make much sense, but I want to clarify. I've edited and added text anywhere in the video where I misspoke or something like that. And if I could go back essentially 2 years ago to when I ordered the coilovers, knowing what I know now, I would not buy the divorced rear setup. It functions fine, it handles well, just realistically for ease of install, ease of adjusting the ride height, I would just spend the extra $250 and buy the true coils, and then of course you'd have to buy adjustable toe arms to get your alignment in spec. But as far as that goes, everything else the coilovers have done well, but I had a couple of hiccups, I guess we'll say, during the installation, which I had a hard time figuring out, and that is why I wanted to make this video and just clarify essentially what my issues were in case anyone else is having a similar problem. Hey, what's going on, guys? I just wanted to make a video about some of the things I wish I knew before installing my BC Racing not true coilovers for my 370Z. This is supposed to be a basically one-day install. I've been doing this for over 2 weeks now. Now, I didn't actually do this like multiple hours a day for 2 weeks straight. I had to take multiple breaks and stuff. So there was a lot of things that confused me from the very start. All the tutorials on YouTube, they have the coilovers essentially, and how it works is in the previous style, let's say, and all the tutorial videos, the spring that they receive is skinny at the top, so it connects to the spring perch, and then it goes out wide all the way to the bottom, and then it connects to the rubber piece that's in the OEM suspension. You just throw that right back in. This obviously is skinny at the top and skinny at the bottom, so I thought I received the wrong parts because on the websites for BC Racing, Z1, and Concept Z Performance, basically everybody did not show the style spring in their listing for the coilover, and so I assumed I got sent the wrong parts. I called Nick from Concept Z Performance. He kind of explained it to me. He said that basically BC Racing must have changed to a more linear spring setup. I can't remember his exact words, but basically he said you can just run that in there. It should be fine. They must have just changed it up a bit. And so there we are. So real quick, just to provide a bit of context, back when I recorded this video, this was early January 2021, and at the time, this video by the Horizon was the only install video on YouTube that I found that detailed the divorced setup install. And so, as you can see, like I said, his spring's skinny at the top, but it's also still wide at the bottom, and he reuses the OEM rubber portion, which, as you can see, he does not have the gold collar installed, which I received. So I was a little confused, and that is why I wanted to clarify essentially what I'm talking about. So if you have the gold collar, you will not reuse that OEM piece. I knew at the start I did not choose the linear spacer option that normally I guess is a $100 option. So I was a bit confused by that at first, but my main issues were these bolts. I could not get these off at all. I spent day one just trying to get it off at all. I mean, loosen it the slightest bit. I broke a breaker bar. I broke 2 wrenches from my other kit over there. 2 whole wrenches. My breaker bar bent in half. I could not believe it. So then I waited that night, soaked these in penetrating oil and WD-40 all night, And then next day, I tried everything. I smacked these with a hammer in case they were like lodged inside and just needed to get the like rust or something broken up inside. Did nothing, and so there went another day. I could not get either of these to even twist the slightest bit. I did have trouble with this one, but I don't remember it being as bad. And then oh yeah, I had enough of it, so my solution was to just heat it up and that would be the end of it kind of thing. But I tried one last time before I heated it up. I smacked it with a hammer and then took the breaker bar that was already bent and threw I believe it's a 14? No, it's a 17. I'm pretty sure. And I just yanked it as hard as I could and it finally came loose. And so I didn't end up heating it, and then I did the same for the other side and it eventually worked. So that was a huge pain. That took out 2 or 3 days. Kind of my fault, to be honest. I'm not gonna act like it's not. But that was a big pain. And also preloading the spring. You're gonna measure the spring with 0 preload on it. I'll link this video in the comments. It's from BC Racing North America. 0 preload on the spring. It should be able to wiggle around. And then you jack it up basically a 1/4 inch or 7 to 10 millimeters, they say. And then you tighten everything together and that should be your set preload. The torque specs that I found online, this one, top bolt is 90 and the bottom is 53. Yeah, I think that's it for the rears. I had a ton of trouble adjusting these. If you have any questions, just leave them down below and I'll try and help you out. Because a good portion of this job that made me take it so long is because I didn't understand the adjusting techniques and how to do it all, even though I watched the videos. But the worst part of this job was removing the front and installing the new front coilovers. These bolts I had trouble with as well. The center, that one was really stuck on both sides. This isn't a northern car. There's not much rust on it at all, so I'm not quite sure why it was so stuck on. But once you get those off, I mean, you're watching a tutorial. It's kind of just a tips video, but you'll have these 3 loosened. I recommend turning the wheel to the right if you're doing the left side wheel, because it'll give you much easier access. As for these brake lines, they are stuck to the like strut per se. As far as I know, you cannot rotate this metal piece separately from this black, whatever you call it. So I had a huge issue trying to get that figured out. I thought I had to loosen this, but I'm just an idiot. Another issue I had was getting it lined up at the top. In the Horizons video, he recommends threading the bolts with your other hand up top. I ended up needing a second person because they wouldn't go on evenly. It was really just a big pain. Also, while removing the OEM strut, this piece right here was beginning to bend as I try and loosen the nut. And in the end, it kind of just became like a mangled mess. So that was a huge pain. I wish I had known that beforehand. I think that's about it for the fronts. Torque specs down here. There's no information on this in the service manual or anything, so I went on the Z forums and I basically am like 90% sure these 3 bolts are 60 pound-foot, or someone said 62. I just went 60 to be safe because I wasn't quite sure, and this one in the center is 120 pound-foot. found that in the Nismo suspension installation guide for dealers. I'll try it from nicoclub.com. I will try and link that one below as well. Also, this is completely my fault. I didn't understand it at first. These two collars hold the spring, so it's already has the set preload if you're buying new coilovers from BC Racing. I thought the bottom collar might be able to move this black thing. I know it's stupid, but I was so confused, and so I loosened this one, and I almost messed up my preload, but in the end I realized I didn't loosen them both at once, so I didn't have to reset that. And then up here, these are torqued down to 28, and I think that's about it. If you have any questions, just let me know.